there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here in London. And today we're going to talk about are some of the tourist traps that tourists might fall into when they do come here to London. But I'll be honest with you, most of the tourist traps here in London are actually fun to go to, and if you've got kids, they're actually really good. But I know that some people want to know what are places I maybe should put lower on my list to go see, or maybe ones that might feel like a tourist trap so I can save my money, okay? Because that's one of the big things here is more of the tourist traps are more of a losing of your money trap than they are actually not worth going to see. So I want to put that out there first. And if we're looking at some of the, just the old standbys for tourist traps, you know, Madame Tussauds, the London Dungeon, the Clink Museum, Ripley's Believe It or Not, you know, these kind of museums that are kind of standard anywhere you go around Europe or you go around the US, you'll see these kind of museums all over the place, you know, torture and dungeons and oh my goodnessiness. Those things are all over, so you don't necessarily have to do that here. You can do that other places, but if you have kids, they're actually fun for the kids. And I know Jocelyn, she loves going to the wax museums, Madame Tussauds, but that's one thing I think is important to mention for some of those tourist traps, just to get that out of the way. And probably one of the tourist traps you're definitely going to see and definitely get pictures of is the London Eye. And the thing is, the London Eye, it's just a Ferris wheel, which is cool, don't get me wrong, and it has a nice view, but you're stuck in there for 30 minutes going around, and it's not cheap. I mean, we're talking, if you're taking your family with you, we're talking, you know, we're paying for a few meals with what it's going to cost to actually go around that with your family of 4 or 5. So that's one thing I think is important to mention with the London Eye. It can be a nice view, but honestly, it's more, for me, it's better just to look at from the outside and have your pictures of it and move on, because yeah, it's a bit over the top in terms of tourist trappiness. Same kind of thing if you look to the London Shard, you know, it's the tallest building, and there's actually an outlook you can go up and see, but you have to pay for the view. And frankly, London is much better with the stylized skyline or seeing it from down below at street level than it is from above, okay? So I wouldn't waste your time going out there for that, because it is kind of a tourist trap. Like if you have to choose between one view, I would probably do the London Eye over the Shard. Now, another tourist trap that some people find is actually the crown jewels. And I'll be honest with you, I can understand how the crown jewels can be kind of a tourist trap, because going to the Tower of London, which is something you have to do, that's one of my favorite things to do when I'm here, but the tourist trap nature of it is if you want to see the crown jewels, you have to go to the tower, and the tower is a very pricey experience. So that might be something that kind of turns you off and makes it feel a bit like, well, I've got to pay all this. So if you do go see the crown jewels, make sure you go do a tour with the beef eaters, do those things, because honestly, you feel like you're getting kind of ripped off with the crown jewels, because they literally have you on a conveyor belt going by. Now, some more tourist traps you're gonna see when you're just walking around. I gotta say, Piccadilly Circus, for as famous as it sounds, you've heard about, it's basically just a bunch of road crossings with some lit up signs all around and like a statue in the middle. That's it. Like, it's not really much. You're just gonna walk through it. Leicester Square, also a tourist trap. If you wanna go see a movie, go someplace else in London, because it'll be a lot less expensive than going to see it there. And speaking of walking tourist traps, going to Abbey Road to get your picture, I mean, come on, you kind of waste your time. It's like going to Strawberry Fields in New York City, where it's just this thing in the ground. You're like, okay, I got a picture of it, but it literally is, it's a working crosswalk. So, you know, it's not that exciting. Another thing that's not as exciting as you think it's going to be, or as magical as you think it's going to be, is going to platform 9 3/4. So if you go to King's Cross, you'll see a huge line there, like snaking back and forth, to go get a picture of people holding onto the trolley going into the wall at platform 9 3/4. And the thing is, the tourist trap nature of that is it's not really where it happened in the movie, and there's a huge, you know, tourist shop next to it just for platform 9 3/4. So that can be a bit much. But if you're a Harry Potter fan, again, it's worth waiting in the line for 30-45 minutes to get your picture and then move on. And I think that kind of goes into another kind of tourist trap nature is any place in London that's an Instagram spot or famous because it was in a movie, some of those things do get kind of tourist trappy because people overplay it. Now, another tourist trap I think is important for people to know is the Heathrow Express. Now, the thing is, if you have a lot of luggage, the Heathrow Express coming from Heathrow into London is actually a good thing to do. But if you only have like a carry-on bag or a backpack, taking the Heathrow Express is significantly more expensive than just taking the normal tube in. So I know for myself, I just take the tube in from Heathrow because it's cheap, it gets where we want to go, it gives me more options than just going to one station. So something to kind of think about. And going along with the airport kind of theme, I think another tourist trap are overly cheap flights that come in at bad times. Because you'll see flights to London that are great, especially if you're all over Europe. You'll see all these great flight prices, but the problem is you'll get to Stansted Airport at like 2 in the morning. Is there a train to get you in? Is there public transportation or a bus to get you in? And if there's not, you might end up spending 100, 200 pounds, $200 to take the taxi in, so your $35, 35 euro, 35 pound flight actually ends up costing you like 300 pounds because of the transportation. So do check the prices for multiple airlines and look at what the overall cost is to get into town with that one, because that's one that a lot of tourists fall for. Another thing I think is important to mention is the shopping at Harrods or Oxford Street. Yes, window shopping at Harrods and window shopping at Oxford Street is fun. You should definitely do it. But the actual shopping part, that's kind of a tourist trap, because you can find these things online. You can go to your local shops and buy these things at probably less than what you're gonna find on Oxford Street or in Harrods. Now, another thing that happens in all big cities that are always tourist traps, or any kind of rickshaw or pedicab, anything like that, you got to realize once you get on that you're kind of at their mercy, so you need to make sure you're negotiating the price before you get on, because otherwise you might think what would have been like a 20-pound ride turns into a 50-pound or a 100-pound ride, because maybe it's based on meters gone or time. So you definitely want to kind of get that set beforehand, because otherwise you could be out a lot of cash for not going very far with these rickshaws and, you know, the pedicabs and stuff. Another tourist trap that I really don't like, and I have this in my scams and my don'ts and my mistakes, is if you go to an ATM or you go to a shop and when you pay with your credit card, you're not from the UK, and they offer to convert your money, your payment into euros or dollars, you never want to do that, because they always get a better exchange rate for them and you can lose out. Like I've seen 10, 20, 30% differences in exchange rates, and so that's really ripping you off as a tourist, because they're like, oh, you're guaranteed what it's going to get. Just say, no thank you, I do not want the conversion. And I'll tell you, some restaurants and some stores will tell you, oh no, it's better for you to take the conversion. They're lying. Okay, a lot of times the servers don't realize that their bosses are making more money off those tourists when they do that, so they just tell them it's a better thing to do, and it's not. You want to make sure you get charged in pounds, okay? So what are some other tourist traps you know about here in London that other tourists might want to know about so they don't fall for them, or maybe they know it's something they might want to do, because some of these things really are kind of fun to do. Let us know in the comments below so we can help other travelers. And I'm now going to go to the change into the guard with my cousin, and I know some people feel that's a tourist trap, but I feel it's something you really should do when you're here. So bye from London.